What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm No Strackmine coming to you live at youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Make sure to check me out anywhere you get your audio downloads. Go hit them on Apple. Give me that 5-star review. And as always, you can find all of my written work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers welcomed 7 new members to their organization over the last 4 days, plus a bunch of undrafted free agents. The moves that I don't think many anticipated as we headed into the NFL draft because, well, to be very honest, the NFL draft shook out completely differently than many of us expected it to, and that goes far beyond the quarterback situation. But while Shedeur Sanders sat around and waited, Will Howard sat around and waited, Quinn Ewers and every other quarterback that the Pittsburgh Steelers were linked to throughout this process had to sit there and figure things out, wait their turn in the NFL draft. Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they made moves, had a number of other positions that were significant, that were bigger than anticipated, that I think as we walk away from the 2025 NFL draft, shape this team out to look pretty darn good heading into the 2025 season. We're diving into Will Howard, what it means for the quarterback situation. Is he eventually ever quarterback one? And if he's not, where do the Pittsburgh Steelers go from here? The best pick the Steelers made of their 7 selections in the 2025 NFL draft, why they took an edge rusher, and if it means the end of TJ Watt, probably not, but what it does mean for the Pittsburgh Steelers game plan and why they made the moves that they did in 2025, a new defensive tackle rotation, and then as we always do, I'm diving into all of your questions because I know after 3 days, 7 selections, a bunch of undrafted signings, well, there are many. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting here with a new team, with a new roster for the most part, and plenty of upside in 2025, regardless of getting Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, Will Howard, or whoever they went with at the quarterback position. Let's kick it off with the big one. And that is their 6th round pick, because round 1 was Derek Harmon, massive. Round 3 was Caleb Johnson, even bigger. Y.A. Black followed it up from Iowa to double dip at defensive tackle. Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State, huge picks. But everybody was waiting around for that quarterback position to be taken off the board and added to the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. And they did it, but they waited as long as they possibly could. The 6th round in the NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers stood on the board. They wasted no time. They took Will Howard out of Ohio State, and everybody immediately said that was the guy. That was the guy everybody wanted. It was a name on the board throughout the NFL draft that I think many hoped the Pittsburgh Steelers would somehow walk away with, that they anticipated would walk away with by the end of the draft. But many, like myself, saw Will Howard as a 3rd, maybe a 4th, maybe at the worst case scenario, a 5th round pick in the NFL draft. There was no way he was dropping to 6th. Well, I asked Omar Khan after the draft, I said, did you imagine that the quarterback was going to shake out the way that it did in this draft class? And he said, I mean, we just kind of took it as it came. We looked at quarterback along with every other position and said, these things are shaking out weird, but they're working in our favor. And we landed the quarterback that we saw fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, before I dive into Will Howard too far, for those of you who have not seen, Mike Sullivan and the Pittsburgh Penguins have agreed to part ways, which is massive, absolutely massive. But that's one Pittsburgh Steelers organization, or Pittsburgh organization, excuse me. The Pittsburgh Steelers, well, they're another, and they're focused on Will Howard. Will Howard ever become the champion quarterback in the NFL as a starter that he did at Ohio State. So I want to start with the good about Will Howard because is a lot of good. This dude's mentally very, very tough, which the Pittsburgh Steelers praised about Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Mel Kiper Jr. almost passed out on stage multiple times in a 3-day span for how aggressively he was hammering that Shedeur Sanders is a tough guy, tough quarterback, that he is just full of toughness. Will Howard's pretty tough himself. He's a dude that could take a blow. He's a dude who's a quality leader. I've spoken to as many people as I could over the last, day and a half, and that's the notion that you get. Will Howard, good dude, great leader, quality teammate, a dude who's going to do what it takes to win a football game. Awesome. Those are the qualities you're looking for in a quarterback, no matter when you draft them. And it certainly helps to get a guy in the 6th round that you look at and say, this dude could eventually become a leader of a franchise. That if you ask John Gruden, this dude's a stud. This dude's the best quarterback in the draft. He said it's his favorite quarterback in the NFL draft, compared him to Josh Allen. I don't know if Will Howard ever reaches Josh Allen level. I don't think he ever gets to be MVP. I'm not totally sold on that. But what I do like about Will Howard is he is exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers were looking for heading into the 2025 NFL draft. What they wanted in this year's draft class was not to go out and get the franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to take care of that next year. What they're looking for is next year when they do draft a first-round quarterback or they do land somebody big somewhere, somehow, they have competition. They have a guy that they fully believe in, who they look at and say, in a year, this dude can be the guy if we give him an opportunity. That this dude can compete with whoever we bring in and potentially earn a starting job over a much bigger name than his own. That's what the Pittsburgh Steelers were looking for. And that's what they got, because that's who Will Howard is. Will Howard's a dude who has the mobility that the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for, that processes the field pretty well, that has a huge arm, that could make the throws. Will Howard's issues are the fact that Will Howard did not really have the big giant success until he came to Ohio State. He was not like the dude who made the crazy flashy passes and won big crazy games and could put a team on his back and do everything around them and be the reason that they won. He's never been that guy. And by the time he got to Ohio State and could play his best football, well, he's playing with the best offense in college football by a mile. I mean, you walk into there with Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, Quinshon Judkins, and Trey Henderson, plus a phenomenal offensive line and a ridiculous defense and a pretty good head coach. I mean, you're playing on easy mode in college football. That's what you're doing. I'm not saying that that's a downgrade to him. I'm not even saying that that hammers his chances or hurts his chances to succeed in the NFL. I'm just saying that why was Will Howard questioned? That's why. That's why Will Howard was never considered a first-round pick, because by the time he played his best football, the Pittsburgh Steelers and everybody else were looking at it going, yeah, dude, this team's ridiculous. It's the best team in college football by far. Obviously, everybody's going to look really good on it. I look at Will Howard as a guy that if he can grow, take this in stride and say, there is no chance that I'm going to be a long-term backup, I think there's a chance he's not a long-term backup. I think there's a real quality chance that the Pittsburgh Steelers have found somebody that eventually grows into a starter. That's not him today, and I do not anticipate Will Howard walks into 2025 as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't imagine he beats out Mason Rudolph for the number 2 spot on the depth chart. But I do think in a year from now, Will Howard learning from Mason Rudolph, learning from Tom Arth, probably learning from Aaron Rodgers, and takes everything in stride because that's who he is. He's a kid that's very intelligent, what stands out so much about Will Howard is his ability to continue to grow. And he's going to get the opportunity to do so in Pittsburgh. That means in a year from now, when they end up with Drew Aller or Garrett Newsom or whoever, that they're looking at it going, well, we have a first-round quarterback, but we also got Will Howard, and we're going to make sure that the best quarterback that we have is the one that's starting in week 1. I think that's huge. I love the Will Howard pick. I wouldn't mind it in the fourth. I thought it was a quality pick in the fourth round. I thought it was an even better pick in the fifth round. By the time the Steelers got to the sixth round and they were still haven't picked a quarterback and Will Howard was very clearly going to be the guy, steal. Absolute steal for everybody involved. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers got a guy. Will Howard told me, hey, I didn't care when I went. It was about who I went to, and I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were the best team that I could have ended up at. He's a PA kid. I get it. It's out towards Philly, but he's a PA kid, man. And you got to love it. I love the Will Howard move. My guess is still Aaron Rodgers signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the next week or two. That's how I'm looking at it. I think before OTAs, all the signs are on the wall right now. They didn't go out and get a starting quarterback. Art Rooney said that he thinks that it's coming soon. Mike Tomlin pretty much said, everybody calm down. It's going to happen. He went on NFL Network and was blatantly asked, hey, what's going on with Aaron Rodgers? And he said, look, I don't have an update right now, but we're having pretty good conversations. And I think the fan base just needs to chill. That's what he said. It's essentially what he said. I would guess Aaron Rodgers is here before OTA starts to just say, hey, I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. We're here. We're going to win. Will Howard's going to be the guy that behind him gets to learn. And I think that's massive for both Will Howard and the Pittsburgh Steelers and gives them another option. I love a quarterback room of Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, and I guess Skylar Thompson, who's probably not going to make the roster, but that is a quality three. Plus, I mean, Cleveland's got to cut somebody. So if you need another quarterback, you could go get one because Cleveland's getting rid of somebody. They're not keeping Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel. That ain't happening. Somebody's got to go. My guess is maybe it's Dylan Gabriel. Maybe it's Shedeur Sanders. Maybe it's Joe Flacco. But if the Pittsburgh Steelers want options, they're there. And in the words of Juju Smith-Schuster, man, the Browns be the Browns. Now, why did the Steelers not get Shedeur? It's easy. I said this on Saturday. I'll say it again real quick. They didn't get Shedeur Sanders because, like the rest of the league, and I think the Cleveland Browns included, they looked at him and said, this is a backup quarterback that comes with so much noise that he's not worth it. It's the Tim Tebow effect. It's the Johnny Manziel effect. These guys are much louder, and they bring much more distraction than you want for a backup quarterback. The Steelers weren't looking for that. Will Howard puts his head down. He gets to work. I love that about him. I think Will Howard's a great option to have for the Pittsburgh Steelers, better option to have if the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking to execute their plan, which has been the same the entire time. Sorry, camera's going to die. And that is that they are looking to have competition a year from now, that they want this quarterback to grow to potentially be the starter next year, but compete to have options executed perfectly, much like the rest of their draft. And my favorite pick, easy. My favorite pick without question in this draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Caleb Johnson. That dude is a stud. Anybody who's sitting around worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers running game, who screamed and said, what are you doing? I can't believe the Pittsburgh Steelers are giving up Najee Harris. How are you going to let that guy walk? Go watch Caleb Johnson's tape. Go watch a pitch play by Caleb Johnson because the Pittsburgh Steelers love to run a pitch. They love to run a pitch, but Najee can't run a pitch because his vision is not good enough. Najee Harris is a phenomenal back outside of the fact that he can't see the field well. He just doesn't have good vision. He's never had good vision. That's always been the biggest knock of Najee Harris. It's not his lack of speed. You can make up for that. It's not his physicality, obviously. It's not his durability. It's the fact that a wide open hole Najee cannot see. He never could. That's never been his strong suit. Caleb Johnson, dude. Caleb Johnson's got some great vision, some incredible eyes. This dude is great at running a zone running offense, which is exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers have been trying to implement for the last year. Jaylen Warren could do it too. Caleb Johnson, man, this is a dude who does not have the crazy breakaway speed, but it doesn't matter because his game speed compared to his 40-yard dash are totally different. He plays fast. He's able to hit holes and create 40-plus yard runs. That's able to happen constantly. Caleb Johnson is an absolute monster. Let me read off his stats one more time because I did this the other day. I'll do it again. 1,537 rushing yards, 21 touchdowns, and averaged 6.4 yards per carry in his last year. That is one season of 21 touchdowns and 6.4 yards per carry. The Iowa offense was terrible. Terrible. Caleb Johnson was not. He was incredible. He looked fantastic. In my eyes, Caleb Johnson was an early second-round pick, maybe mid-second-round pick if the board shook out the way that it did. But I never expected him to go after Quinshon Judkins. I never in a million years expected him to go after RJ Harvey. And the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to get this dude at 83 is an absolute steal. Caleb Johnson is my favorite pick of this draft, without question. He fits exactly what the Steelers are looking at. I love the Le'Veon Bell comparisons, but I love the Le'Veon Bell comparisons not because he's super patient or he has that weird, unique running style. I love the Le'Veon Bell comparisons because Le'Veon's best asset was, or ability was his ability to see the field. Le'Veon could go out there and visualize what was going to happen and react if it didn't. Caleb Johnson does the same thing. He's got the same eyes. That's what you're looking for in a running back. You are looking for a dude who doesn't just hit a hole and run, but can make guys miss, can figure out holes. If you have a young, athletic, developing offensive line, this is what you're looking for. You're looking for a guy who is going to take what is given to him and not try to force things. He could punch you right in the face. That's what he's great at doing. He could carry a whole defense for 5 yards if you need him to get 5 yards. But he'll get you a big play because he's able to say, there's the hole, I'm going to hit it. There's another hole, I'm going to go that way, and create more than just what initially is handed to him in a run. And that is massive. That is what Najee Harris lacked. It is what Jaylen Warren is good at, but I don't think has had a big enough sample size to say how good he is at it. Caleb Johnson, man, go Google his pitches in Iowa. Go Google Iowa pitches with Caleb Johnson. This dude is phenomenal, Adam. And I get it. Nobody wants to see them, but maybe you do want to see them if they work because other NFL teams made them work. The Pittsburgh Steelers couldn't. Caleb Johnson's gonna. Caleb Johnson is gonna, no questions asked. From there, the Pittsburgh Steelers went into day 2, and they started it off with a pick that nobody saw coming. Not a single person saw coming. Jack Sawyer is a name that, lit up college football, was the dude at Ohio State. This is, everybody remembers him trying to go fight the entire Michigan team for planting their flag during the game. And he's a no hold bars. He had the perfect, this is Pittsburgh Steelers football. His quote about what your mentality is and why you love playing defense and what makes you is, when I'm out there, it's manhood versus manhood. And I was like, okay, all right, buddy. There it is. That's what Jack Sawyer is. He's an old school, hard nose, I'm going to win this battle football player. I love that. I don't think Jack Sawyer, was the best position to pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think it was their biggest need. I don't even think that need was on the board, to be honest. I think Jack Sawyer was, in my opinion, the Pittsburgh Steelers' first, this is the best player available pick. It was a guy that went 123 that they probably could have gotten the 3rd round and everybody would have felt really good about it. But Jack Sawyer, in my eyes, was the dude that is there to help the Pittsburgh Steelers immediately with some upside that the Steelers love and isn't going to play over TJ Watt. This doesn't mean they're going to trade Alex Highsmith or Nick Herbig. It means that Nick Herbig is a pass rusher, that TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith are the dudes, but you need somebody to set the edge in the run. You need somebody to be able to shut down Derrick Henry. You need somebody to be able to shut down Quinshon Judkins, who went to the Browns. You need somebody to shut down Chase Brown, who had a day against the Pittsburgh Steelers this past season. That's what you need. You need somebody off the edge to say, I'm not going to let you run the football today. That's what the Pittsburgh Steelers got in this entire draft. Not just Jack Sawyer, but the entire draft. That's what this draft was the Pittsburgh Steelers saying, defensively, you're not going to run the football against us anymore. You're going to stop that. There's no more of that. I think that's massive for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be able to sit here and say Jack Sawyer off the edge is going to set it and you're not going to get past him if you're running the football. Y.A. Black is going to sit in the nose and not be able to move. Derek Harmon is going to sit in the nose or sit defensive tackle and not be able to move. Like, you're not going to be able to run the football against the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. That is huge. That is what the Steelers needed. They didn't need better pass rushers. They didn't need more corners. They didn't need another safety. What they needed was to be able to say Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson will not beat us in the playoffs again. How do you do that? Well, you stop them. You end the 8-minute drives in the second quarter. That's what you do. I mean, that's what happens here. And look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. They had a clear-cut plan and they went out and they executed it. I love the Jack Sawyer pick. I love the defensive picks as a whole. I think Y.A. Black's a stud. Looks like he belongs in the 70s defense already. Jack Sawyer's a dude. Derek Harmon's a dude that I'm already rooting for. I mean, everybody should be rooting for him. Caleb Johnson's a monster. And they ended it with Will Howard in the 6th that I think is incredible. And then Carson Bruner, who's a hometown kid, who's he went to Washington, but his dad was drafted here 30 years ago. I think it's hilarious. Hey, who scouted him? Well, his dad. His dad did. Those hometown ties are awesome. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I think overall draft, I give them an A-. I think you could have, I don't know, you could have looked at it and said, you could have said the Pittsburgh Steelers went into this and went quarterback and got their future and went wide receiver and made all these flashy picks. But instead, the Pittsburgh Steelers went out. They said, we need a better defense. We need to find a guy that in a year could compete, but we need to be able to go back to Pittsburgh Steelers football. Don't let them run on you and run on us the entire time. That's what they're looking for. A-. Now, again, I think the Jack Sawyer pick, to me, lowers that grade, would have been an easy A, but DK Metcalf as a second-round pick and to still do what you did, I think an incredible draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers overall. All right. That's everything I got to say. I know that there are questions. I know there's a ton of questions out there. And right now it's not about, I could rant for hours and I could be Mel Kiper Jr. all day long going off about the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they should have and should have or shouldn't have and should have did during the NFL draft. I think it's an A-. I like it I'm a big fan of what's going on. What I look at now is, what questions do you guys have? We're going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to answer all yours. Here we go.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
Shout out to all our members. Shout out to all of our super chatters. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. I'm going to get to all of them before we head out of here. With that said, let's get it kicking with Michael. Is DK the best second round pick of the draft? Was there anyone that was on the board in any round when the Steelers picked that you would have preferred? Great question. DK is the second pick, are the best second round pick in the NFL draft. Sorry, the Mike Sullivan stuff going on is crazy. DK was the best pick in the second round. Without question, he was the best pick in the second round. When you looked at it and said the Quinshon Junkins, excuse me, 1 second while I text the source real fast here. When you look at it and say who was the best pick in the draft, or who's the best pick in the second round, and I apologize that I'm all off base here as we go on to this, but the Mike Sullivan stuff is blowing up, and so is my phone, and I'm just trying to stay accurate as I don't miss anything. DK was the best second round pick in the NFL draft. No questions asked. I mean, look, you saw Quinshon Junkins go before Trey Henderson. Trey Henderson was a steal after going Quinshon Junkins first with the Browns. That made no sense to me. I mean, what are we doing here? RJ Harvey to the Broncos. My dad's a Broncos fan. He was pissed. He was super pissed, especially with Caleb Johnson going in the third. DK Metcalf is the dude. I mean, he's already an established stud. There was no wide receiver in the second round that you looked at and said that was the best pick available. To be honest with you, there was nobody in the second round that talent-wise comes anywhere close to DK Metcalf at all. He was the best second round pick. And to be able to get Caleb Johnson, again, like if you gave up DK Metcalf and you walked away in the third with Will Howard, not the best move. But to walk away with Caleb Johnson in the third, phenomenal move by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, was there anybody on the board when the Steelers picked at any point that I would have preferred? I don't think so. I think in the fourth round, maybe you could have went with, and I don't even know if he was still there, but maybe you could have went with a corner. I think Chevelle was in the third round. I don't think he went in the fourth. Ben Morrison went earlier than that. I looked at it and said Caleb Johnson was a steal. Jack Sawyer was a question mark, but I don't know who you were picking over him. In my eyes, it was Shedeur Sanders. That's who the Steelers were going to pick in the fourth. They went with Jack Sawyer. I don't think there was, to be honest with you. The Steelers draft worked out beautifully. That's my biggest takeaway from this entire draft is there wasn't a point where I sat there outside of the Jack Sawyer pick and went, that was a bad pick. And Jack Sawyer, I went, that's a questionable pick in the fourth round. And I was anti-Shedeur at that point. There's no way you're getting Shedeur Sanders. Not in the fourth round. You're not going after a guy with that much noise. I mean, look at the party he threw. Look at all the headlines that he made. Like, this is a guy that the Steelers do not want any part of. That was the only one that at any point I looked at and said that would have been the pick. But besides that, there was never a moment in this draft where I said the Pittsburgh Steelers made the wrong move. I think they've made phenomenal moves throughout the whole time. I guess in the fourth, you could have went that Elick wide receiver out of Stanford. He would have been a stud, but I'm also not positive that he was there. He might have went right before them, and if he didn't, that would have been a good one, but you didn't trade George Pickens, so you don't need another wide receiver where they stand today. Michael, again, how many teams in next year's draft do you think we will compete with for a top wide receiver? I can only name 5: Browns, Colts, Jets, Raiders, Saints. I feel the same way. It'll be the Colts. I don't know if the Jets are going to be a wait and see situation, but probably. The Raiders are going to be a wait and see situation, but probably. But that's 3. The Browns definitely. The Saints definitely. I could see 5 as well. I think New York is a question mark, but if Russ starts this season, then they're going to give it to Jackson Dart next year. They're not even going to think about it. I think that's where you're at. Bryce Young, maybe if he stinks, the Carolina Panthers move on and they do not sit around for Bryce Young's final season and they're ready to move on, but it'll be those 5. And that's the thing is there are 5 quarterbacks. Plus you got to think that teams are going to move on from guys. You know what I mean? Like, you got to look at it and go, the Browns have 7 quarterbacks right now. They're not all going to work out. There are going to be veterans from other teams that go other places that always shake out. Justin Fields to the Jets eliminated them from a quarterback this year. Maybe that happens to anybody next year. Maybe that's the move. There are going to be those guys that are on the move that go elsewhere that you're looking at going, okay, great. And I'm going to be honest. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are really into moving up and beating whoever's on the board for these quarterbacks. Like, I think that is very much so on their mind to go out there and say, we are going to find our QB in the first round, early in the first round next year. And they're not really worried about who's in front of them. I have a hard time thinking the Jets are any worse than they were last year. The Raiders look like they got better. The Saints are probably going to be really bad. The Browns are probably going to be real bad. The Colts are probably going to be real bad. But I think you'd be able to move up and get maybe the fourth best quarterback in this draft, which, in a good draft class gets you Bo Nix. Like, that ain't bad. That ain't terrible. Stephen Cornfield, member for 2 months. First, happy 2 months. Second, sorry, Maddie, no dart. Shout out to Maddie. Oh, she's doing well. Hope she's hanging in this morning. Third, Noah, final draft grade. Fourth, what in the hell are the Browns doing drafting 2 QBs? I'll start with the Browns. The Cleveland Browns are right now a team that continue to be the Browns, where you're looking at it going, the Cleveland Browns wanted Dylan Gabriel. That was their guy. You want to know who wanted Shedeur Sanders? The Haslams. Their ownership wanted, it was clear as day the ownership wanted Shedeur Sanders in this situation, where they were looking at it going, okay, he's in the 5th round. We have to go get that guy. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry wanted nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders. It was clear as day. They drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round. There's no need to double dip at a quarterback. There was zero need to double dip at a quarterback. That's what's going on with the Browns. When it comes to the final draft grades, and like I said, A-. I think Jack Sawyer is the only questionable pick. Besides that, Y.A. Black is a stud. Will Howard in the 6th is a steal for a quarterback. Even if he's a long-term backup quarterback, he's a steal. Caleb Johnson in the 3rd might end up being the biggest steal of the draft. Like, I'm not joking. He might end up being the biggest steal of the draft. And Derek Harmon is an absolute freak. And I love that pick at 21. No questions asked. Jared Brooks, member for 1 month. Enjoy the content. Keep it up. Keep on the grind, my man. Hey, appreciate you guys. It's been a blast. My phone is literally going absolutely bonkers right now, which has, it's doing a podcast, talking to you guys, and having my phone explode next to me, whether it's, I just got 3 phone calls from sources that I should probably call back at some point, but, we're here with you guys for right now. No Coast Golf ran into the Iowa offensive coordinator basketball tournament yesterday, chatted the draft, and he said Pittsburgh won the draft. Could not believe KJ was still available. That's the consensus. That's where everybody is at this point in the draft, is there is no way he should have got to pick 83. There's just no way. In every draft, he was a 2nd-round pick. In every single, and this is not Shedeur Sanders falling. This is not the quarterback position, which is a question mark. This is the Browns making a bad running back choice, the Broncos making a bad running back choice, and the Steelers somehow finding themselves with the 4th best running back in the NFL draft, potentially ending up being the best running back in the draft, especially value-wise, at 83. Like, that's just, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Shout out No Coast Golf for member for a month. And man, dude, shout out the Pittsburgh Steelers and Caleb Johnson, my favorite pick of the draft without question. Well, and here we'll follow it up with this one. Pittsburgh Hornets, what's your favorite pick for the price? It is Caleb Johnson. I'll give you a second one here. When you go with, if you're going value, second best pick in my eyes is Will Howard. I think that dude, for where you got him in the 6th round, unbeatable. How do you look at Will Howard and say that's a 6th round quarterback? I could see him being a 5th round quarterback, a 4th round quarterback, but you got to look at it and say he's not a 6th round quarterback. Go ask John Gruden. He's not a 6th round quarterback. That's my second one, I think. Well, the draft is over. Now what? Now we go and we wait for Aaron Rodgers. I would imagine that Aaron Rodgers is at some point going to sign in the next 2 weeks. That's my interpretation. And to be honest with you, I would not be surprised if my phone is blowing up because that's happening sooner rather than later. And if I do get another phone call, I am going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to mute myself and you guys are just going to watch this happen. You guys are just going to watch it go down right on camera because I think it's coming soon. I do. There's all indications are that the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers are close. You know, Mike Tomlin kind of like he even said, like, hey, calm down, you know, stay calm. We're pretty positive. Like, okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Like the way I look at it right now, that's what's coming next. And then you're going into rookie minicamp, you're going into OTAs, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, they're set. They're ready to go. There's no more moves that need to be made. You got a couple of position battles, but that's where the Steelers are currently. Sticking with Nate here. Noah, what's your opinion on Caleb Johnson? I think his vision is elite. Oh, we talked about this. Do you think he could be a 3-down back for us? I do think his pass blocking needs work. His pass blocking does need work, and that's what I'll highlight in this one because I do like the Caleb Johnson pick. So I think his pass blocking needs work, but to be honest with you, Jaylen Warren's the best pass blocker in football at the running back position. So you're okay with that. Like you are. And you could work on that. Why Jalen's going to be the starter. That's the thing is Jalen's going to be the starter. And I'm looking at it going, Caleb could just continue to develop, become an explosive running back. And you have 3 running backs that you feel comfortable with. 45% Jalen, 40% Caleb, and 15% Kenneth Gainwell. I think that's a fantastic trio to have for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tom, what are we thinking the depth chart looks like in regards to Mason and Will Howard? I think Will's going to be the 3rd. Mason will be the 2. That's most likely how they'll go about it. Mason's a quality backup. He's a good backup to have. He's been a good backup to have. I look at it and say the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, right now, they have a dude that they're looking to develop for the next year. When that happens, they will move him up the depth chart. But for right now, Mason's going to be the 3 or the 2. Aaron's probably going to be the 1, and Will be the 3. And that's okay because there shouldn't be any expectations on a 6th-round quarterback. No matter how excited everybody is about him, you have to keep him as the 3. And just say, look at the 3rd quarterback being able to be on an active roster is massive and remains massive for the Pittsburgh Steelers. How can Steelers evaluate Will Howard as quarterback 3 with no snaps? What if he's a Dak clone? He's not a Dak clone. Look at there's a lot of hype about Will Howard. You got to be realistic about Will Howard at the same time. And that is he is a 6th-round pick. A 6th-round quarterback has never once become like this ultra super talented Super Bowl winning quarterback. It's never happened. So you have to be realistic. What's the difference between him being a quarterback 2 and him being a quarterback 3? There is none. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are not worried about evaluating Will Howard this season. That's not on their agenda whatsoever. They could care less about what Will Howard does in 2025. Why? Because Mason Rudolph is their backup and Aaron Rodgers is most likely their starter. So when it comes to Will Howard, it's about next year in a competition, next year in training camp. Will Howard's going to get plenty of reps this year in training camp. Plenty. You're thinking they're giving a boatload of reps to Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph? No. Aaron's going to take the starters. Will's going to take a bunch of the backups because they already know who Mason Rudolph is. Mason's not in here competing for a starting job. You're going to get what you need out of Will Howard. It's not about what you see on the field this year from Will. It's about what you see in the workroom, what you see in the classroom, what you see off the field from Will Howard in 2025. Next year during training camp, it's about what you see on the field. But a 6th-round quarterback, no matter how good he is, will never stop the Pittsburgh Steelers from a year ago being aggressive for a QB. Ever. That's not on their agenda. As an Iowa Hawkeyes lifelong fan, the pick of KJ, Black, and Castro makes me very happy person. Sebastian Castro is a huge pickup as a UDFA. Huge pickup as a UDFA. I think that dude is very, very talented. And, he needs some work, but I think he's Ryan Watts, maybe better than Ryan Watts. And I like that. I like that you could look at it right now and say he's your safety 4 ahead of Miles Killebrew and play special teams and maybe play the slot. Like Castro's a dude who's a hard-hitting dude who like that's who he is. He's a run support guy. And if you want to make him a slot, I think it works. If you want to make him a dime backer, I think it works. If you want to make him your 4th safety, I think it works. I like him. I think he's got a ton of talent heading into the NFL draft, especially as a UDFA. All right, just making sure I'm still sliding through here. What's up, Steelers Nation? Oh, sorry. Cody Silva, I think Jack Sawyer can maybe go to inside linebacker. 2, he can catch the ball. He was Peyton Wilson's speed and energy. I agree, but I do think that the Steelers are looking at this as a set the edge on the run support type of guy. That's who the Steelers see in Jack Sawyer. Now, eventually can move him out as a hybrid guy, definitely. But I don't think right off the bat they're gonna make him a inside linebacker. I think they are comfortable with what they have in that group, and he's just gonna kind of play that 4th edge. I'm telling you, he's a stop Derrick Henry guy. Like that's exactly who Jack Sawyer is. That's why they got him, is he's a stop Derrick Henry guy. Jimmy, so basically guaranteed by the draft selections, we are getting Aaron Rodgers, right? I would read into that. I would definitely read into that. There's no part of me left that says Aaron Rodgers isn't coming to Pittsburgh. There's been very few parts of me left that said he wasn't. I would imagine it comes pretty quick. I do. Which team in Pittsburgh do you now think will win and advance to the second round of the playoffs first? Great question. It's the Steelers. It'll be the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers are a good football team without a quarterback. That's what they are. You know, they needed pieces in place. They needed to move on from Najee Harris, Larry Ogunjobi, and a bunch of older guys that probably didn't have, you know, the right set of talent going into it. That were nearing the end of their time in Pittsburgh. But right now, yeah, I would guess that the Steelers are the team that's most likely gonna make it to the second round of the playoffs at some point, at some point. Hey, Noah, do you think Aaron Rodgers will actually mentor Will Howard? I wonder how much development Howard can receive under Rodgers. So anybody who's worried about Aaron Rodgers and being a mentor, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best mentors the NFL has had since Aaron Rodgers has been there. So you just have to go look at his history. Like go look up Jordan Love on Aaron Rodgers. Like he does nothing but say how his success came because of everything Aaron taught him and all the time that Aaron spent being a mentor to him. Aaron Rodgers is, I mean, look, he might be wild. He might be arrogant. He might be self-centered. All these things might be true. He's a phenomenal teammate and people love him as a teammate. That's the one knock, that if you're going to be realistic about the situation, him as a mentor is a phenomenal mentor to have. I like anybody, you're not being realistic or you haven't done the research. And I'm not saying this is you, Grayson, this is not, but just there are a lot of people out there who constantly say Aaron Rodgers is a selfish prick. He's not going to mentor anybody. Go do your homework, because Aaron Rodgers is a fantastic teammate and everybody loves Aaron Rodgers, especially his backup quarterbacks. Zach Wilson's not a very good quarterback, praised what Aaron Rodgers did for him and how much he helped him. Jordan Love's the same way. I mean, like, this dude knows how to mentor. He was mentored by Brett Favre. Like he knows what he's doing. Broderick, my dream draft, fixed the run defense, came true. I think Captain Jack and YA Black were great depth pieces, boosted special teams in the 7th. I agree. I agree. That's what the Steelers need to do. They needed to boost their run defense. They needed to fix everything going on, and they did that. There's no questions remaining. The Pittsburgh Steelers draft plan was in place, remained in place. They didn't change it throughout the entire draft. They looked at it and said, okay, here we are. The Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for their group of defenders that can solidify this group long term. They got that. They got 3 of them. And I think that's huge. That was the game plan right off the jump. Mike Tomlin said it afterwards. I've been saying it for months. It's what they wanted to do, and they went out and did it. I think that's why they get an A- in my head, because they went out and had a plan and they executed it, and they did a damn good job executing it. Egyptian Roughneck, how do you feel about the UDFA? Rock Taylor, 6'2", 225, a very physical and lengthy wide receiver, could be a sleeper number 3 or 4. Yeah, I do think Rock Taylor is a good wide receiver. I was surprised he went undrafted. I thought he was going to be late. The wide receivers went in a very weird order in this draft. I think Rock Taylor's good, very good. He doesn't have the production that you're looking for at Memphis, but I do think he's pretty good for an undrafted guy. I could see him being a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. He doesn't replace Calvin Austin. He doesn't replace Roman Wilson, but he could come in here and compete for a spot on the roster. I mean, they don't have that guy. After Roman Wilson, it's Ben Skoranek, who's a stud, but they might keep 6. And, that I wouldn't put it over their head to keep 6, especially because they have 3 running backs, and it's not like they're going to keep Cordero Patterson. So I think Rock Taylor's a good dude who has all the tangibles that you're looking for. And that's why they went. I mean, I think out of all of the UDFAs, him and Castro are my favorite to date. I mean, Ben Sauls, but they're not keeping a kicker. He's just here to put on some tape, and probably some damn good tape. Some damn good tape. All right, just a lot of people calling me out as normal. Making sure I'm not missing anything as we keep them trucking here. Guys, the any chance Mason or Howard win quarterback 1 with Rodgers in the room? None. 0 chance. Well, Aaron Rodgers is not signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers to be quarterback 2. It's never going to happen. The Steelers know that. It just wouldn't happen. It's not even on the docket. Wouldn't even be a consideration. The devil himself was taken in the 6th. Oh gosh, guys. Why don't the Steelers go get Kobe Bryant or Tommy Hill? Both of them were signed. Kobe went to the Falcons, I believe. I was stunned. He would have been my 7th round pick. I think he's good. He's way too small, but I think he's good. I'm a big fan of Kobe Bryant. I was stunned that he didn't make it, but I would have went and got him in the 7th. I still think the Falcons got a steal on him, though. Grayson the Ginger, do you think the Steelers will extend George Pickens if Will Howard impresses the staff enough they can afford GP if they don't sign an expensive quarterback? I mean, money's not the issue when it comes to George Pickens, but the Steelers historically have never paid 2 wide receivers, and they've always let one walk, and that just seems to be what's happening here. I don't think the Steelers, where we stand today, are willing to take a risk on George Pickens and the off-the-field issues, or even on the field, but the sideline issues, the showing up late to practice, showing up late to games, like those issues that are constant. They've never gone away. They've only gotten bigger throughout his entire career. They're not taking a chance. They're not handing that guy $30 million a year. Not right now. Now they'll give him an opportunity to showcase that and see if he can improve this year. But where they stand right now, they're not going to do that. But I apologize for this. I do look at it and say that it does open the door. I don't think George Pickens gets an extension this year. I think next year George Pickens is up for an extension, and the Pittsburgh Steelers might hand him one and break that trend, but it's not going to be this year. And that depends on George Pickens. That depends on if he's cool with showing up to training camp, not getting a deal done, and being a team player and going through this year, which I don't think he's going to, but that's where he's at. ND Joe, I am so sorry for this one. So sorry for this one. I completely missed this, and I did not mean to completely miss this. I apologize. I'm happy we didn't get Sanders. The fallout that family is creating is worse than the Manning and Mahomes families combined. The drama wasn't worth the squeeze. I almost feel bad for Cleveland. Almost. Look at when it comes to the Sanders, that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what happened. Shedeur Sanders is a guy that goes in the first round if his name is Jackson Dart or anybody else. If it's Will Howard, he's going in the first round if he has the same talent. His family created so much noise that it became an issue. Shedeur created so much noise that it became an issue. I've heard good things about Shedeur. I've heard bad things about Shedeur. I've heard overall the general consensus is Shedeur's pretty good. The whole entourage thing isn't as blown up as some teams made it, but it is there, and it is something that you have to consider. But I think his dad killed the whole thing. That is what happened. I think Stephen A. killed the whole thing. I think Mel Kiper killed the whole thing. That added to it because it just pushed the noise narrative more. This guy comes with everything you don't want as a backup quarterback. That's what the NFL looked at him and said. Cleveland, I'll tell you right now, it wasn't Andrew Berry and it wasn't Kevin Stefanski who made that pick. It was 100% Jim Haslam. That's exactly who it was. And the Browns be the Browns, man. He was the same guy that traded for Deshaun Watson and pushed that one. And he's the same guy that wanted Shedeur because he couldn't stand to let him fall any further. This is ridiculous. He's a better quarterback than that. Yeah. Okay. Well, when he's your backup and the Browns are drama filled and have more issues. Yeah. I think it's a problem. And I think it's going to be a big problem for the Cleveland Browns. But hey, look it. Shout out Cleveland, man. Shout out Kenny Pickett, dude. I hope he wins that starting job. I don't know if he's gonna, but I hope he wins that starting job. All right. Let's finish it off with this one from No Coast Golf. Does TJ get the contract now? The draft does add some hesitation into thinking they'll get it done. I do think TJ gets a contract. That nothing about the draft ever changed that TJ was going to get a contract because the Steelers want to pay TJ. TJ wants to be paid. TJ had some issues. I think those issues are going to get worked out. I got very minimal concern that TJ is not going to get a deal done with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like where we sit today, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to end up paying him $41 million a year. That's going to happen. Now, did they mess up not paying him last year? Yes. But the draft and nothing else about the Pittsburgh Steelers say that TJ is not going to get a deal done. He's going to get a deal done. It's going to get $41 million a year. The Steelers have known this throughout the process. They are simply just, trying to negotiate, and things didn't start off well, and they haven't gone well. But I would imagine as we get closer to June, July, August, TJ Watt gets that massive deal from the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, y'all, as my phone continues to blow up, I got to let you guys go. I believe we might have some news coming at some point, but I'll keep that one for right now. With that said, everybody enjoy a beautiful day in the Berg. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check me out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of my written work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, I will potentially be back later. We'll see what happens. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.